Hi everyone, it's taken me a while to get part 2 of my Summoning Salt video out, but I'm really excited about this documentary, and I hope you are too. Just as a refresher, at the end of part 1, Salt had just released his video about Choco Mountain and the Weather Tanko, so we're going to pick up at that point. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video, and if you haven't seen part 1, you might want to watch it before you start on part 2. Okay, so pretty soon after the Choco Mountain video release in June 2018, Salt uploaded a documentary that immediately blew up, Mario Kart Wii: The History of the Ultra Shortcut. This is currently his most popular video ever, with over 11 million views. Salt was more successful than ever at this point. However, a side effect of his increasingly high production standards for his content was that he was uploading less. He posted 6 videos in 2018 and just 5 in 2019. Another reason for the less frequent videos? Salt was back on the punch-out grind. Back in 2018, Salt had slipped another single-segment world record in between his Metroid and Choco Mountain videos. He'd previously said that he wouldn't come back to this category to lower his time, but he decided to do a few attempts for fun, and then this happened.
Yes! I just beat the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out world record. I don't believe it. I thought this run was going to stand for... We did it, man!
Those few attempts turned into a 15-10-500, enough to lower the record by over a second and a half. Salt was so shocked at what had happened, he even did a face reveal at the end of his stream.
You only saw it briefly. That's all you guys are getting.
But Salt had bigger things on his mind. He wanted the first sub-15-minute run in single-segment history. In fact, he could have gotten this all the way back during his June 2016 15-12 run. Had he gotten a 2:14 Tyson during that fight, the 15-12 would have been a 14:59. So Salt knew it was definitely possible, and it could not have been far from Salt's mind that a run of this caliber would instantly cement him as the greatest Punch-Out runner of all, without question, and it would put him in a completely different class from anyone else who had ever speedrun the game. This time though, it wasn't going to be so easy.
I hate... Stop!
In 2016 and 2017, Salt was getting world records seemingly every other week, but now he was going weeks with no luck. The weeks turned into months, and the months turned into a year, and still there was no new record. By this point, Salt's frustration was palpable.
Oh my god, all my games fell. Sorry that was so loud. I hit my console hard and all the games on top fell off.
In fact, Punch-Out was becoming less of a hobby and more of an obsession for him. Salt claimed he was mentally fine, but after over a year of grinding with no success, even the strongest person would start to question their sanity. Finally, in late July 2019, Salt got on a pacer. Salt had a pretty bad Soda Popinski that suffered from Soda refusing to give Salt the pattern he wanted. Don Flamenco 2 also had a bad health refill that meant Salt gained less than half a second on that split. Salt even declared the run dead after he lost 5 seconds on Mr. Sandman. But an average Super Macho Man fight kept Salt hanging on for dear life into the Tyson match. He needed a 2:07 to beat his world record, and that's exactly what he got. It was enough for 15:10-110, enough to conquer his personal best by almost half a second. Half a second. Salt had worked and sweated and raged for over a year, only to see just a half-second improvement. He was nowhere near a sub-15. But characteristically, he got to work, starting another run less than 30 seconds after PBing. And this time, the grind paid off. 2 weeks later, Salt got onto the best run of his life.
Oh god, 15 minutes flat. I could have been sub 15. I mean, of course I had to mess up phase 3. But on the other hand, I hit every single frame perfect punch after getting blocked. That was kind of clutch.
It was an absolutely incredible run, and it finally broke the logjam of effort that Salt had been pushing against for months on end. But it wasn't the God run. If Salt hadn't messed up phase 3 Tyson, he would have gotten it. Salt would need a little more time before he could fulfill his destiny. So he took a break and ran a few other games and made a few more videos. A week after his 15-minute single segment run, Salt returned to Math Blaster Episode 1 to get a 10:56. In December, he posted 2 world record progression videos within 1 week of each other, which is a feat he still hasn't equaled to this day. And at the beginning of 2020, Salt inaugurated the 90-minute challenge category of Punch-Out speedrunning, in which the player tries for the fastest in-game time on each of the 14 fights for 90 minutes. At the end of the 90 minutes, the player tallies up the total combined time from each of their fights. It's an interesting twist on the single segment formula, and Salt's opening time of 14:21 is still the fastest on the 90-minute challenge leaderboard. And then, it was February 2020. It was time to try again for the sub 15-minute single segment world record. Salt had known since June 2016 that a sub 15 was possible. Everything he'd done since that first Punch-Out run, 4 years of grinding, thousands of single segment runs, developing new strategies over the past few months, had led to this moment. This one moment where he could assert his claim as the greatest Punch-Out speedrunner of all. The run did not get off to a great start. Von Kaiser didn't give Salt the lucky star in phase 2 of his fight, resulting in a relatively slow 37.48 time. Piston Honda 1 ended up with a bad health refill, and Salt got a 15.82 on Don Flamenco 1. That Flamenco time only happens about 1% of the time, meaning this run was, in Salt's words, a pretty crappy start. Things got a little better in the King Hippo fight thanks to a strategy that had been found just a couple of months earlier by a pair of brothers, Lukendor and Zox. Now remember that King Hippo is one of the most random fighters in the run. This is a fighter who, for a long time, had a 95% chance of giving a suboptimal movement pattern for the player. This is the fighter who ended 2/3 of Salt's runs.
The game just reset itself.
However, Lukendor and Zox discovered that, to quote Salt's explanation, by not pressing down or right any time before Hippo, and starting the fight on an 8-frame window surrounding the 5-minute mark of the run, Hippo will always open his mouth on the first punch. Punches 3 and 4 can also be manipulated. By using right gut punches in specific places, which are 1 frame slower, theoretically resulting in a 40 or 41 second fight every time on Hippo. Armed with this new technique, Salt was able to negate much of Hippo's randomness and get a 40-second win, then clawed ahead to take a 1/5 of a second lead after Bald Bull 1 and Piston Honda 2. For Soda Popinski, Salt used an adapted version of the Super Macho Man intentional knockdown strat to win, but still lost almost a second to put himself back in the red. It wasn't looking good for Salt's chances. But then, the luck started rolling in. Salt demolished Bald Bull 2 for a 3-second lead, then pulled off 2 lucky stars and the best health refill in Don Flamenco 2. This has a 6% chance of happening, and even though the 1:28 final time put the run back in the red, Salt knew he was within striking distance of the world record at this point. 3 more matches to go. Salt used the reliable Mr. Sandman intentional knockdown strategy, combined with some great luck to pull ahead by 7 seconds. Now Salt just had 2 left, and like any great competitor, he was hitting his stride when it mattered most and gaining time down the stretch. He only needed an average Super Macho Man fight to push his time to 9 seconds ahead of the world record. And then, there was just one thing standing between Salt and immortality. Salt later recalled feeling a sense of mental clarity before this Tyson fight. He'd been here before, and his Tyson practice that day had been one of the best he'd ever had. but he had to hit 22 frame-perfect punches with a window of 1/60th of a second for each punch. He'd done it before, but could he do it again? "14 minutes, 55 seconds, 250 milliseconds. Salt hadn't just beaten the world record, he'd demolished it. There was no question about it. He was the best to ever play the game. And that is not where the story ends. No, we've still got one more stop before we're finished. Now that he'd conquered single segment, Salt decided he was going to tackle some of the categories that he hadn't revisited since 2016. And while he was at it, he was going to create a new one, Tyson Challenge, which requires the runner to complete 14 consecutive Tyson fights. Salt's inaugural run of this category was a 32:53 and has never been beaten except by Salt himself. Next up was the Another World circuit, which Salt demolished by 17 seconds on his way to an 11:34. And finally came RTA, which Salt managed to lower by a whopping 1 second. But for all of his prowess as a speedrunner, there was one category Salt had never played before, one which would prove to be the ultimate test of his abilities. In early 2019, during Salt's long march to the single segment sub 15, he uploaded a video entitled The History of Blindfolded Punch-Out. It details the efforts of Jack Wedge, Zallard, Sinister, and other skilled players to beat the entire Punch-Out run blindfolded. I know how unreal this sounds, but it's absolutely true, and various players exchanged the blindfolded world record for years, before a runner named MPAP brought the record down to 20:06 on May 5th, 2018. That record stood through 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. Gradually, as Salt conquered all other obstacles before him, he realized that one last challenge still remained. And that's how Salt began his quest to take the blindfolded world record.
Yes. That's a new record. That's a new record. Alright, not great, but yeah, it's bad refill probably. Oh, we got him. Oh my god, yes. That's a record, dude. That's a record. Take it, dude. Next up, we are getting this guy in round 1. Well, not whoever I just pointed at. It was probably like Glass Joe or something, but maybe it was still Tyson. I don't know. Point is, next run, that's a record. Tyson's going down round 1. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude.
When the famed mountaineer George Mallory was asked why he wanted to climb to the top of Mount Everest, he replied, "Because it's there." Humans simply want to push the limits and boundaries of their existence, whether that be in athletics, or art, or for some of us, speedrunning. At this point in the video, some of you might be wondering what the point of all this is. So a guy can play a video game really fast. So he makes videos about other people playing video games really fast. So what? Well, The point is that Salt is speedrunning's George Mallory. Salt started watching Zallard and Sinister's Twitch streams back in 2013 when they were doing everything they could to conquer Matt Turk's seemingly unbeatable records. Where other people might have seen simple entertainment, Salt saw Everest. And for the past few years, he's dedicated himself to climbing that mountain. But he's also dedicated himself to helping other people appreciate what he sees too. Because of Salt's excellent videos, millions have been introduced to the sport of speedrunning, and thousands have been inspired to begin speedrunning themselves. There is a very real summoning Salt effect on the level of interest in a particular game. This can be seen in games like Ninja Gaiden, which had 136 runners the day Salt's excellent video on the Any% record came out, and 200 runners 6 months later. An even bigger impact can be seen on Wii Sports Resort Golf. Salt's video on the chase for the Golf World Record released on June 27, 2020, when 87 people had uploaded a speedrun of the category. 6 months later, that number was 195. Salt's impact on the wider speedrunning community is undeniable. Moreover, he was the first person to create a dedicated YouTube channel about speedrunning. Bismuth, Abasoft, SpeedDocs, and many others like them. All of these YouTube channels owe an incredible debt to Summoning Salt because he was the first. Which makes it all the more incredible that Salt never planned to make more than 1 or 2 videos at the beginning of his journey. In many ways, the myths that have built up around Salt due to his popularity aren't reflective of reality. He doesn't listen to a lot of synthwave outside of his videos, for instance, and We're Finally Landing was not planned to be his intro music until several videos after it was introduced in Choco Mountain. Video creation is something he really fell into, as opposed to making a dedicated plan for, and it's obvious that this is the case for many of his 2017 and 2018 videos. Still, Salt's rise from amateur content creator to YouTube mainstay is a mirror image of his meteoric ascent to the top of the Punch-Out community, and should be an inspiration to creators everywhere. What is Salt most proud of about his journey? His favorite videos include the quest to beat Matt Turk, both Wii Sports videos, and the recent Super Punch-Out documentary he released in February 2022. On the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out front, while he's found some sort of new strategy for 8 or 9 fighters, he feels his biggest contribution has been to raise the bar on the Mike Tyson fight. Before Salt, runners aspired to hit 15 or 16 frame-perfect punches. After Salt, the standard became 22 frame-perfect punches. It cannot be overemphasized how important this was to the development of Punch-Out as a top-level speedrun. Perhaps the greatest Summoning Salt effect has been on his own community. So what's next for Summoning Salt? Well, you can expect many more speedrunning videos over the next few years, as he's gone full-time with content creation. Salt's talked about going back and redoing some of his old videos to update them, and truthfully, many of them need a refresh. His Super Mario Bros. Video only covers up to 2017, when Darbian was still the world record holder, and the best time was a 4:56. Salt's already started this process by remaking his Mega Man 2 video, so perhaps we'll be getting new looks at Super Metroid, Portal, and Mario Bros. Soon enough. On the speedrunning front, Salt seems to have stopped playing anything but Punch-Out. Gone are the days of Super Mario Bros., Mario Kart 64, and Math Blaster, which is disappointing in some ways. However, it means that Salt is still focusing on Punch-Out, which can only be a good thing for those of us who enjoy the best in the world, doing what they do best. There is one Punch-Out category left that Salt has never attempted, single segment high score, which means Salt may attempt it someday to complete his dominance over the entire leaderboard. Additionally, Salt has stated that a single segment time in the 1440s is possible. Remember that 14:55-2:50 record? Well, he beat it on April 6th, 2022, lowering the record to a 14:55 flat. You know what that means. Salt's already climbing his next mountain. All of us get to watch as he reaches for the top, and if Salt inspires just one person to be a little stronger, faster, or braver, then it will all have been worth it. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my Ko-Fi page. I am fairly new to being a video creator and would really appreciate the support. And please drop a comment letting me know which speedrunners you'd like me to take a look at next. Thank you so much for watching.